Every year it seems we get too many Nic Cage movies to even keep track of. I've already reviewed two of the biggies from 2023, Renfield and Dream Scenario, in which he was nominated for a Golden Globe. Now we're going to talk about two of the lesser Nic Cage projects from 2023, The Old Way and The Retirement Plan. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie reviews for two Nic Cage films, The Old Way and The Retirement Plan. I already covered a couple of the bigger budget Nic Cage flicks. I really enjoyed Dream Scenario. Renfield, I was not a huge fan of, but the response was a bit mixed on that, so some people did definitely take to that one. I just wasn't one of them. There is actually another Nic Cage movie from 2023 called Sympathy for the Devil. I'm not even going to review that one. There's only so much time in the year to watch movies, and so I kind of avoided that one. But these are a little bit more higher profile than that because The Old Way is Nic Cage's first traditional Western, which is kind of hard to believe. But that came out in January of 2023, direct to on demand. Can't really say direct to video anymore, but directly to on demand. You can see that now on one of the streamers. I think it might be Amazon Prime. But you can catch that there now. And then The Retirement Plan actually had a small theatrical release, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Didn't do very well, but at least it did get that theatrical push. So I figured as I'm wrapping up my 2023 movies, let's tackle a couple more of these Nic Cage movies. And I will point out, yes, he had, a very, very, very minor role, which I think was all from old footage in The Flash. He did appear very briefly in The Flash, but I don't think that was anything new that he did. I think that was some stock footage of him. But in any case, before I get into the specifics of these two movies, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We've got movie and TV reviews on display here. Just about every day something new goes up, and even twice a day sometimes. And you can check out all of the playlists on the homepage as well. I've streamlined them with movie reviews, TV reviews, and by year as well. So you can check those out if you don't want to get lost in the sauce of all the videos I'm posting and you're only looking for specific things. But please consider subscribing, like this video, and comment below. Of course, that helps the channel out. All right, so we'll start with The Old Way since that one was released first. And like I said, this is kind of the first traditional Western that Nic Cage has done. He's, of course, been a part of, some quasi-Westerns or whatever, but this is definitely like a classic-style Western. This takes place in the late 1800s, and he plays Colton Briggs, who is a member of a posse organized to arrest and hang this notorious bandit named Walter McAllister. And so a shootout takes place towards the beginning of the movie, and the only survivors really are Cage as the Colton Briggs character, and then McAllister's son, James. So then we flash forward 20 years, and he's got a wife and kids, or one kid anyway, this daughter, Brooke, played by Ryan Kiera Armstrong, and the whole movie is basically the two of them together on a mission, because he's looking for the outlaws that eventually ended up killing his wife. And you may recognize the girl, Ryan Kiera Armstrong. She played the lead in Firestarter, and she was nominated for a Razzie for Worst Actress of the Year, which they later sort of rescinded that nomination, saying, well, we probably shouldn't be nominating 10-year-old girls as terrible actors. That's really a bad message to send. And it's funny because certainly, and I did not like the movie Firestarter, but none of it really was her fault. And she's actually one of the more engaging parts of this film. The father-daughter dynamic is really the only thing of note in this film. Clint Howard has a small role as well. I don't get his appeal. I get it. He's Ron Howard's brother, and he seems like a nice guy, but he's just a movie like this. I don't know that they couldn't have found somebody better. And Abraham Benrubi is here as well from the old ER series, and before that, Parker Lewis Can't Lose. He played Kubiak. So he's here as well. He fits right in with the Western motif. So Nic Cage never having done a traditional Western is definitely a little odd because he's done I don't know how many movies, but probably over 100. I mean, he's been at it since the early 80s, so we're talking about 40 plus years. I think the original Valley Girl was one of his first movies. That was like 83, 84. So we're talking about a 40 plus year career. And as I said, the guy just cranks out the movies, 4, 5, 6 every year. So yeah, he's probably done, I would think, well over 100 movies at this point. And this being his first Western. But this is a very, very generic film. So the old way, they sort of explain that in the movie when he's talking to his daughter. But to us in the audience, it was like, yeah, this is the old way because everything about this movie is recycled. They're really taking from a lot of other westerns, and I don't even watch westerns that much. It's not really my style. But even I was like, okay, well, I know exactly where this is going. I know exactly, what movie they took that from and what that's an homage to, whatever, whether intentional or not. And as a result, it just was a really bland film. But I will say that father-daughter dynamic was interesting, and I like this girl, Ryan Kiera Armstrong. It's a shame that she got sort of saddled in with the fire starter stuff. She also was the daughter in The Art of Racing in the Rain from a few years ago. She must have been real young for that, maybe 5 or 6, if she's 12 now. But she could have a potential future here. She certainly, I think, was giving us the most interesting performance, and I wonder if that's because she had no basis for what a Western is, traditionally supposed to be. You have Nic Cage, you have probably the producers and the directors are like, okay, we're well versed in Western film culture and whatever, so let's just do what worked in those other movies. Whereas for her, I think she was just doing a performance without sort of basing it on any, and I'm just guessing. I mean, maybe they sat her in front of a bunch of Clint Eastwood movies before they started filming. I don't know, but her performance seems the most authentic in the whole movie, and I wonder if that's why. So I leave The Old Way with a C. And next we get to The Retirement Plan. So this one, like I said, did have a small theatrical release. And you can find this on streaming as well. I think one of these is on Amazon, one is on Hulu. I can't remember. But in any event, this sees Nic Cage in the Cayman Islands. He has this daughter named Ashley, and then her daughter Sarah. So Nic Cage's character's granddaughter, and they get caught up in this criminal stuff that puts their lives at risk. So his daughter turns to the only person she knows that maybe could help her, and that is her father Matt, currently living in the Cayman Islands. And this, to me, before I even go any further, this seems like one of those movies where Nic Cage wanted to go to the Cayman Islands for a month or two and have a studio foot the bill, Adam Sandler style, and that's what they did, because this was shot on location at the Cayman Islands, most of it anyway, and sure, why not, if the studio's going to pay for it, because that probably is the most interesting thing about the movie, is sort of the background, but anyway, so now they're all caught up in this criminal, attempted takedown or whatever. And you have Ron Perlman in this, Ernie Hudson, Jackie Earle Haley, and boy, oh boy, this is a stinker. This is much worse even than The Old Way. The Old Way, while generic, was at least watchable. This is pretty bad. The action here is not great. The dialogue even worse. And I will say the most interesting part about this is, again, the man and the young girl scenario. You have Ron Perlman as sort of the crime boss or whatever, and he kidnaps the granddaughter, obviously to give some leverage or whatever. And let me see if I can find who the daughter is played by. I don't know. No, we're not going to say it. I'm not sure. But anyway, the granddaughter and Ron Perlman have some of the best scenes in the movie, although it makes his character make no sense in the real world. You know, he would have just either, you know, tried to get the ransom for her or killed her or whatever. But he's like, you know, playing real nice with her and coloring with her and all of this. You know, was there something of like, okay, we want to say that his character, you know, regrets not having kids of his own or whatever. Like, they never make that parallel, but those scenes are at least interesting to watch. And then you have Cage being like super grizzled, and you thought maybe they were gonna like play that angle up and say, okay, he's gonna be, you know, this geriatric, you know, kicking everybody's butt, a la like maybe a Liam Neeson or something. But they never quite fully play into that either. He's just like kicking everybody's ass, but there's no explanation of how this like because they really like aged him up. He's supposed to be, I guess, I don't know, 70 or 75 or something in this movie. And of course, Cage is a good bit younger than that. And it just didn't quite make sense why they didn't lean into that more or kind of explain more. They try to say like, oh, his background is whatever. You know, it didn't matter. The dialogue is terrible. You know, the action sequences are not great. But again, it's interesting that both of these movies, the most compelling part is the man, whether it's Nic Cage in The Old Way or Ron Perlman in The Retirement Plan, and the younger girl. And, you know, this girl is probably 6 or something, and then in The Old Way she's about 12. So you know, there's a little bit of discrepancy there too, but it is interesting that's the most kind of compelling parts of either movie, really, because everything else around it is just so generic. But at least The Old Way, like I said, is watchable. It's fine. It's just very bland, safe, you know, traditional Western, boring, all of that kind of stuff. Nothing new to the table. Whereas The Retirement Plan, nothing necessarily new either, but not interesting either. You know, bland would be a compliment probably for The Retirement Plan. It's quite bad. So I leave that one with a full letter grade lower than The Old Way. I'm going to give The Retirement Plan a D. These guys just seem like they're sleepwalking through the movie. Jackie Earle Haley not really doing anything special here. Nic Cage looks bored, you know, as he does sometimes. So anyway, you can find both of those, like I said, on streamers now, but I'm going to skip on Sympathy for the Devil, the other Nic Cage movie of 2023, because we're starting to put a pin now. Now that the Oscars are over, I'm going to be watching, you know, and catching up on some 2023 movies and putting out some reviews for them before I do my best and worst. But I wanted to hit at least a couple, and I figured since there's enough Nic Cage out there to go around, I'll give him his own video. But of all of his movies, I definitely recommend Dream Scenario. I believe I gave that an A- a few months ago when that was out, and he got nominated for that for the Golden Globe, like I said. So that's the one to check out this year. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time.